How's it going? I'm Carlos, and this is my presentation, Game On, the Culture of Gamers. Today we're going to talk about who is a gamer. So, a gamer is a person who plays video games, more colloquially known as a gamer, or a player, or a user if they're on a PC. And what's the purpose of gaming? The purpose of gaming can be for fun, entertainment. Say you have friends, family over, or you're playing with your kids, your cousins, nephews, aunts, uncles. You could be playing with anybody. Or if you're a hardcore gamer, you could be competing or practicing for esports, which is electronic sports. Um, Population served is the world. There are 3.4 billion gamers reported worldwide, and the source is Newzoo, Newzoo. That's from 2023. And I picked this topic because I've been playing video games for all of my life, as long as I can remember, and I have played for fun and competitively. And yeah, it's pretty fun. Okay, so we're gonna go over some cultural values and norms of gamers. The biggest ones are going to be cooperation, especially in team-based games, persistence that goes with team-based, or if you're playing solo games, and strategic thinking. A lot of the times you're going to run into problems that you need to be able to solve on the fly, and you have to be able to communicate that effectively to your teammates. If you are a newer player, it would be recommended that you observe what other people are doing, and if you don't, especially if you don't have a mic, you want to be able to do what they're doing or emulate that. And sometimes you end up connecting with people that you will um, play together with in ranked matches. And this way you can learn their tactics and techniques, and you can pass those on as some of your own. That's highly valued to be able to do. So I'm going to go over socialization and enculturation. As new members start to play video games, you don't want to be labeled as a bad player or a cheater or a hacker. You want to develop good etiquette. You want to watch tutorials. You want to watch, other people play these games. Especially when you're new, you're going to be considered a noob, and there's going to be a lot of people that actually don't want to play with you at first. Um, there are community guidelines for players who exhibit toxic behavior. You can be banned. You can be voted by other players to be kicked out of that particular game or lobby. Um, and this should all help to foster the new player. The focus here is on the new player becoming a better player, and a player that you want to play with in the future. We're going to talk about self and identity. This is I'm going to touch on solo play first. Solo play, the imagination is the limit. You don't necessarily have to play a role, especially in a role playing game, which sounds counterintuitive. You will play however you want to play. Now, team-based games, that's where you're going to need a leader, a strategist. You're going to need some sort of support and some sort of mentor, especially to learn how to play the game, what strategies you're supposed to use, how to reach the objective. It really depends on what you're going to be doing and how competitive that particular mode is. Especially in games like Call of Duty or Halo, you're going to identify yourself by your rank and or specifically your kill to death ratio. That's going to let other people know on your team that if it's high, uh, you're a good player, and if it's low, you're probably not so good, or you have yet to play as many games as they have. So as far as cognition and decision making goes, if you're playing alone, once again, the imagination is the limit. If you're playing co-op, though, you need to be listening to your teammates, listening to your teammate, listening for callouts, whether you should be going stealth, or guns blazing, that is all going to depend on teamwork and team effort, especially if you're not just playing locally, if you're playing internationally with people from other countries. You've already coordinated to play this certain mode, you want to reach this certain objective, you don't want to waste anybody's time, you don't want to go lone wolf, and you want to be using a mic because communication is key here, as well as being able to analyze uh, what's going on. You want to be able to consider the context of the mission and then execute that. So no matter how good the gamer is, you're gonna experience and express emotions, and the key here is to remain disciplined and keep your bearing. You don't want to show, especially in tournaments, you don't want to show the other team what makes you tick. What you don't want to have any tells, kind of like poker. You want to be good at what you do, get in and get out. So speaking of getting in and getting out, you want to be able to communicate effectively, but also quickly. And from the past till now, there's always going to be a change and an adjustment to the language that is used by gamers. What somebody said 15, 20 years ago might not necessarily be the same language that you're going to run into today. So you want to do the research to stay current. If you're playing online and multiplayer games, you're going to get into some squabbles, especially if you have your microphone set up to be able to hear not only your team but the other team. There's going to be constant back and forth trash talk, and sometimes there's going to be trash talk among your own team. And the best way to deal with that is to communicate. You're going to want to improve that, whether you're talking it out during the match, before the match, especially after the match, because nobody wants to stay in a negative mode of communication. You want to be able to positively communicate with each other. So something you don't want to experience is gaming fatigue. You can experience this at work, and it does happen a lot at gaming. With gaming, is something called RSI, or repetitive stress injury. Trigger fingers. This is actually where your fingers get stuck in this motion. The same thing happens if you're using a gun or if you're using like a chainsaw or a jackhammer. So you want to get the healthy amount of sleep. You actually do want to go out and play outside and exercise. You don't want to just sit in one spot and stay there and become stagnant. You want to hydrate and you want to exercise and be healthy. While you're out there being healthy, eating healthy, exercising, this is going to help you to avoid crash and burnout. And this is more for your mind than anything else. Here, you got to be able to talk about your feelings, and not just send text and chat emojis. There are online campaigns, streamers do this, esports do this now today, which is they talk about mental health, they talk about these resources, they talk about where you can go and get counseling, especially if you end up talking to your friends first, the gaming community first. People are going to tell you, like, don't let what's going on in your life come into your gameplay, especially when gameplay might be your outlet. So if it comes into your outlet, you're definitely going to want to go and get that help so you can return to not only this but anything else that makes you happy and makes you healthy. So from down the street to playing in Turkey and playing in Germany, when I was in the Air Force, I played with people from different ages who spoke different languages, different cultures, and it's interesting to see how including everybody in the games you're playing, especially Minecraft, just to see how everybody kind of operates together. Or you make the same jokes, you make similar comments, and you share in those victories. The victory is felt across different cultures. So in addition to actual user support, there are a wide range of support systems and interventions are needed, because too much of anything is not a good thing. I have not seen it personally. I've definitely seen people play video games for an extended amount of time, but I haven't run into anybody that like went crazy or anything over playing video games. But I could definitely see how um, having a mental health issue with something else might leach into that. So here we're going to talk about intergroup relations. This is more specific to pro and ranked gaming, where there are even names for those levels of gaming, like epic, legendary, thunderous, whatever. It just really depends on the game that you're playing. Some games they will skill match you, and some games kind of just throw you to the wolves. If you're not part of a specific clan or a team, you're definitely going to be in the out group, whereas those players have come together and joined teams or made clans, and they are their own in group. So if everybody wants to be bikers instead of a corporate um, business, or they want to be smugglers, depending on the game, everybody's going to want to do that particular thing, and not necessarily what you want to do. Here we're going to talk about leadership and organizational culture. So the leader in any of these games, they're going to want to lead the way and set the tone, and as well as communicate effectively exactly what the roles are, if and when those roles are going to be swapped, what objectives they should be meeting. And a lot of the times, unfortunately, if you have the same rank, you're going to provide similar level of input that might end up leading to a conflict. And what's best to reinforce or change that is going to be the lead who's able to come up with tactics on the fly. They're going to be able to delegate better than that person who might be in that same leadership position, um, especially if they've ever played as the lower ranked person. They're going to understand exactly where they're coming from and be able to communicate that better. So here's some recommendations that I came up with. Recommendation number one is going to be to promote inclusive teamwork. And so, in order to build stronger bonds and keep players on your team within your network and build their confidence, I would suggest that you include the new guy. Um, Take them under your wing, schedule some gaming sessions, maybe do a one-on-one, and show them the heat maps, show them your tactics, show them what works best, what didn't work for you, and what does work best for you now. Recommendation number two is going to be clear rules. In any event, this is going to discourage toxic behavior. This is going to encourage team effort. You're going to let them know what the rules or the code of conduct is or are. Once you teach them this path and once you have them disciplined, hopefully they're not going to stray from the path, and they're going to be able to not only respect the fellow members, but in so doing, they're going to be respecting themselves and following the rules. In conclusion, I would say the key takeaway from this presentation will be um, you got to have patience, you got to work as a team. Finding those shared values among your team members is going to help you with your own identity and when with your group identity too. Some major strengths for community members in total is going to be mentorship, teamwork, effective communication. Some areas for improvement would be reduced toxicity. So if we can get those players who are cheating and hacking and trash talking or harassing people, you know, propagating stereotypes, you don't want to keep that in your group you or community as a whole. You want to show others that that's not how you're supposed to play the game, and there should be effectively punishment, or you ban them or you disable their accounts. The overall impact this would have would be better communication, more voices are heard. Video game developers listen to that feedback, so they're not just letting these things slide. They're doing something about it, and they're being active in the community. and then this gaming community is going to become better. Especially, I have a daughter, so I want to make sure that her growing up and eventually picking up video games is going to be something that she's going to enjoy, and that it's not going to be toxic. But I think there's still going to be some, of that around. It just really depends on how we mentor each other going forward.